on Nova 100.
Guys, overnight, an about face you could say, but a welcome one, in my opinion, from the Victorian State Government, because over the coming summer, they will be trialling pill testing. It does.
There's been lots of conversation about this.
Yeah.
Just for anybody living under a rock who's quite naive to the subject, this is where they will test drugs at festivals.
That's right.
To let you know if they're safe or not. I mean, look, not that any drug's safe, but like what's in.
Well, because
the pill.
there's been these horrific stories of people even trialing things for the first time and it killing them.
So
Teenagers.
And that's not manned by police or anything. You're not going to be charged or anything like that.
In the first 3 months of this year, the first 3 months of 2024, there were more overdoses than in the entirety of the previous year. So that's how often it's happening and how scary a proposition it is right now.
It's scary, and I think there will be some backlash from people who don't think that this is something that's necessary. But what I would say is burying your head in the sand and pretending that this isn't a real problem is so short-sighted.
Well, the Premier Jacinta Allan announced it on the socials last night. Here's what she had to say.
My husband and I are always thinking about our kids growing up and making their own decisions. In a few years, they'll be heading off to parties, to music festivals. And like all parents, I often catch myself thinking, what if the worst happens? What if one of them doesn't make it home?
And that is the fear. That's the fear right now.
Yeah, look, I love that she also says there that, she's a parent and she understands that there is a chance that it could be her kids that try something that perhaps they shouldn't, or she's not naive to the fact that teenagers will be teenagers and try things like this.
For the people that don't want it, is their belief that, hey, if we provide pill testing, that's just going to encourage kids to do it?
I guess so, but I also think that's really naive and short-sighted.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's a trial which has already been undertaken in the ACT Queensland as well. As I say, it's coming to Victoria. Let's get some expert insight on this from the Victorian Drug and Alcohol Association. We welcome the CEO, Chris Christoforou, to the show. Good morning, Chris.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you all?
We're good, Chris.
Your reaction?
Oh, it's a very positive announcement. The Victorian Alcohol and Drug Association and other health organisations have been calling for this all of last summer. Given the spike in overdose numbers, as well as the risks around adulterated substances appearing in illicit drugs. So it is a very welcome announcement.
Chris, can you run me through, and I'm not sure if you have all the details of how it would actually work? Like, I'm imagining it's all anonymous. There's no police manning the tent or anything. It's just people rock up at this tent at a music festival. Their drugs are tested, given back to them, and they're told what's in it.
So I think there'll be further information coming out today about what the actual service will look like.
Yep.
But at a high level, it is an anonymous service. So people that are intending to use an illicit drug can take a sample of it for testing, and in that sort of context, it's they'll receive real time information about what the composition of their substance is, but also have the opportunity to have a conversation with a health professional about their decision making. So
okay, so there's some education in it as well as just
absolutely.
Because I mean, I'm all for this. I think it's really important, and I think the statistics that we see get worse and worse every year of people trying things and not knowing what they're putting in their body. But there will be a lot of people that completely disagree with this. There will be backlash. What do you say to those people who think this is a terrible idea?
What I would say is that this is a health response. It's not and I think the evidence shows that criminalising individuals who do take drugs is costs us more. It's our courts get clogged up, and as you were saying a little earlier, fatal mistakes happen, and people end up people often find out the negative consequences of what they are consuming once they're in a hospital ward or even worse, a morgue.
Hey, Chris, are you a dad?
Yes.
Can you take your hat off as CEO of the Victorian Alcohol and Drug Association as a parent of children? I don't know how old they are, but one day they will head off, presumably to parties, to music festivals. Would you feel a little safer, a little bit more comfortable sending them off to those festivals, parties with their friends?
Well, I guess, we all want to sort of make sure that, our children and those that we love have the right information about what they choose to do. And that's an ongoing conversation. But of course, it is an important intervention that, will be real in Victoria this coming summer. So I think for families that there is an added level of comfort that if their child or loved one decides to take something that they're given or that they buy illegally, then that'll be something where they can get some information and possibly have a conversation for the first time about their drug taking.
Yeah, right.
And it's not just kids doing this, by the way. There's adults, there's people in their 20s, 30s who go to parties, go to festivals, and they don't come home.
Hey, Chris, we'll leave it there.
Good on you,
CEO
Chris.
at Victorian Alcohol and Drug Association. Thanks for your time this morning, mate.
No worries. Great to chat with you all. See you.
13 24 10 is our number if you want to weigh in on this. We are talking about pill testing being trialled here in Victoria.
There's been some horror stories, especially the last summer gone, paramedics heading to music festivals, just the things they're seeing, the people they're treating.
You know what I think's sad? That parents that are naive to think their kids won't be in that environment. And I'm not saying every kid will do drugs or anything like that.
And it doesn't. I don't think it doesn't encourage kids.
No,
to
it doesn't.
Do it.
But if you are sitting there going, my child will never be in a situation where they're offered them or around them, then unfortunately you've got your head in the sand, mate.
But it also might not be your child. It might be your child's best friend. It might be your child's girlfriend or boyfriend or colleague.
13 24 10 is our number if you want to weigh in. We've actually got a caller sitting on hold at the moment who is dead set against it. We'll get their view and take your calls on the other side of this here on Nova. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm surprised about this, but the topic we're hitting this morning has definitely divided people on the phones. She's a 50-50 split.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
Really?
Yep.
Well, then Melbourne, honestly, 50% of those people that are against it need to wake up.
Okay, so what we're talking about is pill testing. The Victorian government have just announced that this summer pill testing will be trialled. They'll be running it out. We don't have all of the details as yet, but it will be run out at festivals across Victoria.
And I think I mentioned before it's a U-turn of sorts because Dan Andrews was fiercely opposed to a pill testing trial.
Look, drugs are illegal. I get it. I get that there are a lot of people who are scared by the idea of this because they think it's going to encourage their kids to do it, encourage people to do something that is against the law. But I think the bigger picture, Jace, which is what you're saying, is that people are going to do it anyway. And this will save lives. And people make mistakes.
And you know
kids, teenagers, trialing something.
Not everyone will go and do it. They'll be too nervous. They'll be embarrassed. They'll be scared about the consequences. But even just like if 4 people go and do it at a festival and 2 of those don't go ahead and take the drugs that, were cut really badly and are going to kill them, there's 2 lives saved. Karen from Kilmore.
Morning.
You're dead against it.
Dead against it. It's illegal. Illegal drugs.
Karen, do you have kids?
And you're saying that they're here, come and take illegal drugs.
No. Karen, do you have kids?
Yes, 3.
Do you think they've ever been, I'm not sure how old they are, but do you think they've ever been in a situation they've been around drugs or offered them?
I'm sure they have, because most kids would be. Right. I'm sure they have.
And what about if peer pressure got to them and they were going to take a tablet at a festival, wouldn't you prefer they knew what was in it?
Well, you know what? They're not going to test every pill that goes into that festival.
No, but if your kids had the option to get that pill tested, wouldn't you prefer they got it tested and knew what was in it and then had the decision and then be able to make the decision on whether they take it?
Well, I don't think it makes any difference. They're going to take an illegal drug.
No, they're not.
Illegal drug.
But Karen, it's giving them a choice. If they get it tested and then there is an expert in front of them saying this drug has been cut with something very bad that people are dying from.
Yep.
That gives them the choice on whether they're going to take it.
And I think it's more than just...
And then they'll go and take another drug that's
Well, here's the thing, Karen.
I
What if I
can
told...
understand what Karen's saying, that she doesn't want to encourage... we shouldn't be encouraging people.
It's not going to encourage them. Karen, get your head out of the sand.
Hang on. What if I tell you this, Karen, that it's been proven that pill testing actually changes behaviour? Because, look, it is research, but when you get a negative result at a drug testing or a pill testing festival facility, a hut, basically they deter a majority of people from taking drugs, basically, because they see right in front of them the evidence.
What's in it.
And what it can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there is, I think some people, a lot of people, I would say, are putting things in their bodies that they don't know what's actually in it.
Did you ever do drugs when you were younger, Karen?
No.
Well, I hope for your kids' sake that the testing stays around, and I hope that, they don't find themselves in that situation.
I can understand why people are frightened by it, because I can understand that you would think that it would encourage people to do it.
But ignoring the problem is more frightening. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah.
13 24 10 to join us on the air.
Let's go to Williamstown. Siobhan, good morning. What do you think about pill testing in Victoria?
Good morning. I think it's absolutely brilliant and well past due. It's something that they do in the UK, in the Loop. In the UK, do it already everywhere. And you'd be surprised how many of us attending festivals would throw out anything that we've purchased.
Really? There you go.
That contains ketamine, baby powder, all those things that the gangs mix the drugs with. We just want to know how strong they are so that we know our limits and we know what we're taking. And we also want to ensure that everyone around us is safe.
So, sorry, can I just check? Are you saying, are you a living stat here? Have you been in a situation where you've thrown something out?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Wow. Absolutely, yes. And numerous of us have. As I say, in the Loop in the UK, attend a majority of the festivals and they test for free. There's no stigma attached to you going in and getting your pills or your powders tested. I am a living stat. This is saving lives.
And there is evidence out of the UK and America as well that pill testing does impact the black market.
Yeah, of course it would.
And the manufacturing of those substances on the black market.
Well, if there's a dealer selling bad stuff, people have tested it. They're not going to go back and buy from them. I was just having a look online. You can buy bloody testing kits here in Melbourne for $20.
On Amazon, I think. There's and I think that if this is something that's going to save lives, it's absolutely necessary. There's been much debate about it for a very long time. It's a trial. It's going to be rolled out, and I think we should definitely support it.
Well, look, we've got to take a break. We're going to check your news, and then on the other side of this, to wrap up the topic, someone who can talk firsthand. Her son was a victim of taking something. He's still alive, but he took something that was cut badly. We're going to hear her side of the story next on Nova.
So we've had lots of callers, lots of debate this morning, Jason Lauren.
And the calls we're getting through is literally 50-50 split against and for pill testing.
Well, this was Karen on the phone before who was dead set against it. Wouldn't you prefer they got it tested and knew what was in it and then be able to make the decision on whether they take it?
Well, I don't think it makes any difference. They're going to take an illegal drug.
No, they're not.
An illegal drug.
Yeah.
So Karen's argument was that drugs are illegal and that's the end of the story.
But ultimately, this is something that is saving lives. We've got a mum on the line, Kathy from Greensborough. Kathy's son overdosed at one of these notorious festivals that was held at Flemington earlier this year. Kathy, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you? How are you, by the way? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What do you make of this news?
I have a mixed feeling about it. It scares me in a way. My son was one of I think there was 12 of them on that particular festival. It was a pretty bad festival. It was in all the papers, it was on the news. He was one of those kids, and they asked permission to do bloods on all of those ones that overdosed, him being one of them. And, we even thought, he's got dirty tablets or it's a dirty dose or whatever. But it came back, it was clean. There was nothing else. So all the bloods that came back, they said it was just a perfect storm on that day because it was extremely hot. It was very humid under the tent. a bit of dehydration, and it just exacerbated all of the things that those drugs do to the body, and it just.
Kathy, just quickly, I think it's important that we point out that your son overdosed, but he's okay now.
Yes, he is. He was in intensive care for 2 days.
Wow.
I actually I got there to pick them all up and I couldn't get in contact with them, and then one of his friends answered the phone and said, "Oh, he's not good," and I just thought, "Oh, he's drunk as usual."
Yeah.
So I went into the ground and they said, "No, he's unconscious. Get to the tent." And I had to watch them sedate him, put him on life support, and follow the ambulance to the hospital.
Oh,
and not knowing if he was going to live or die, we had to wait. It was 24 hours on life support. And then, fortunately, all of those kids survived. But it scares me because if he had have had that pill tested, they would have said, yeah, that pill's fine to take.
Yeah.
So, and that's the conversation, Kathy, because while we are saying we think it's many people think it's a great initiative and it will save lives, there has been a conversation that thinks that this will encourage people to do it, and things like overdoses and the risk that taking illegal drugs has. It's not eradicated by the pill testing. There's still so much danger.
But there's got to be education with it as well.
Well,
and they're yet to roll out the plan of how exactly it will work.
But I think these conversations, Kathy, and thank you so much for, I'm sure you're having to be really brave to relive this story.
Quite a private person, but I thought, I didn't call when you first put it out, but I thought, like, he didn't have dirty drugs. They were clean drugs. And we still ended up with the same result. Fortunately, he's okay, and I don't know how I feel about the pill testing. I'm half-half. If it does save lives, that's fantastic, but it's not going to be the 100% answer to
But if
question.
which it sounds like, we don't know the full story of it, but it does sound like there will be a large part of education in this as well, of teaching people how
there has to be.
to be safe.
Kathy, as a mum who has been through a horrible situation, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, does this debate... Does it rattle you? Does it make you feel emotional?
It makes me really nervous.
How do you feel this morning? Are you emotional about it?
I am emotional because it all comes back to me that I wouldn't want to see another parent go through, like, I'm not naive. They go to parties, they go to festivals, and I say to him, be safe, please don't do it. But if you think, I have a great relationship, but if you think, they think that they're invincible when they're young, like we all did, you know. And you get that phone call and you just can't believe it. It's surreal and it's not fun to go through.
And you never think it's going to be your child or one of their friends.
You've definitely brought a different perspective to the argument, I can tell you that.
100%. Kathy, thank you so much. We appreciate you jumping on with us this morning because... It's not an easy conversation to have.
And it's a conversation that has to continue as well.
We're having it.
Yeah, we're yet to find out all the details of how it'll unfold, but testing needs to come with education.
Premier on the show tomorrow as well.
Yes, we'll dive into it again then. This is Nova Morning.
Gonna be a good day. Jason Lauren.
Wake up feeling good.
On Nova 100.
Jason Lauren.
Follow them on socials. Nova.